Hello everyone, my name is Mimi79. Today I've got some daily race C around Bathurst. So here in the Chevrolet Corvette, and if you can't tell, we are in Group 3. But the twist about this race is that you have to use both the soft and the medium compound of tyre. So in qualifying you're looking at sub 2 minute lap times, which is just unreal. But the car to go with in this race is the Corvette, mainly because it's pretty good at everything on this track. It's good in the corners, it's also very good on the straights, and it's also decent under braking. But here it's starting in 6th place, so not too bad. I set a 1:59.9 at this point, so not the best lap, but again it put me high enough for 6th place, so I'll take it. But following through the mountain then, a very tricky section to get right, especially with the bumps, and then coming up to McPhillamy here, it's a very tricky corner because you've got bump on the right hand side on the entry of the corner. So into the mountain section then, some race downhill, and then flicking the car right and then pulling it back left for the dipper, and then racing down towards the Forest Elbow, braking just before the transition to the blue barrier on the right hand side. We've got a much better run than the Swiss driver just in front of us, and in fact he doesn't have the slipstream, so this should be an easier pass then. So down the Conrad Straight, it's going to be a very simple overtaking manoeuvre. He sticks to the left, and in fact he lifts off and into the chase, then moving up into 5th place. But actually we get a bit of a bump there. I thought it was just a simple misjudgment of braking, but in fact I got a little bump, and the Swiss driver getting a 2-second penalty. A bit harsh, but with the penalty system at the moment, I think you've just got to accept it. However, he did push me off the track, so I guess the penalty system did work, kind of. However, it didn't really affect me, so I'm not too sure on that one. But again, a much better exit than Adapt Cyberman in front of us, the South African driver. So up the mountain straight then, this is a very prominent overtaking opportunity here because obviously of the long straight. But we're going to go down the inside and move up into 4th place, and now we're going to try and set our sights on the 2 cars in front as we get a bit of a wobble on the exit there. But you could just see there, we're already starting to pull away from the pack behind. I think the driver we overtook first was on the medium compound of tyre, which would explain the pace deficit. However, in the slipstream now of the Russian in the Supra, who is just behind Mindaugas Rick, or Mindaugas Rick, depends how you want to say it, but shifted down to 4th there, really revving out the engine. Probably lost a bit of speed there, but going down the dipper, very tricky to get right because you have to really judge the track limits right, because if you cut them just a little bit too much, it's a 1-second penalty or half-second penalty, depends on how severely you cut the corner. However, down the Conrad Straight then for the 2nd time in this race, you can see there the Russian trying everything he can to get past. He's going to go to the right hand side here. He's going to have the inside for the chase, but it won't be enough for now. As we cut to the replay camera then, South Africa going for a move there, just kind of clipping us on the inside. That will probably cost me a couple of tenths. However, the Russian did not manage to get past, and that is going to be crucial for the outcome of this race. So out of Murray corner, very similar to the Hell corner, which is coming up just here, braking halfway in between the 100 board and 50 board. In qualifying you can brake a tiny bit later, but it wouldn't be advised, as you want to try and follow the slow in fast out philosophy through there. However, up the mountain straight then, and the gap is just under a quarter of a second to the Russian in front. He's going to look for a dummy move, in fact, on the brake, but it's not quite going to be enough. Having to lift off there, throttle management in the Corvette is so crucial because it's obviously a rear-wheel drive car. But coming up the mountain then, once again, making sure we don't make any stupid mistakes, because scraping against the wall like the Russian did there will cost you a lot of time. And with this being such an unfamiliar car to me, prior to this race I'd never really driven it before, like out in anger. So in fact this is my third lap ever really in this car. So I'm still trying to get used to it really, but I'm definitely getting the hang of it. Losing a lot of time though in the dipper there. Could have definitely taken that a lot better. However, into Forest's elbow, very tricky corner because of the downhill sweep, and it's so important to get a good exit because now you've got such a long straight, and we're just in the slipstream, but in fact we're going to drop out of it, I think. Yeah, gap's just gone above 3/4 of a second, so I'm not going to pick up the draft, whereas the driver behind is. So we might have to go defensive here, but thankfully he's just too far back. Brick goes very deep there, and we're going to get held up here as there's no way past. South African on my right hand side then, and we're going to have to try and make something work. However, we just hold the inside and we're going to hold station for now. But just looking here for an opportunity of any sort. Going to the right hand side, I don't really want to be directly behind him, trying to get the slipstream for this long straight. And now we're going to look for a move, not on the inside but on the outside. So I'm going to pull over to the left, and are we going to be able to make it work? We're going to brake on a normal braking point, but it just edges us off. It is possible though to make a move around the outside. I did that actually in one of my later races. It's very tricky to get dead right though, that overtake on the outside. You have to really hope that the car on the inside gives you enough space. However, just trying to keep up with Gas Rick again, and this is the crucial phase of the race because I plan to stop on this lap and just running a little bit wide there of the apex, losing maybe a couple of tenths, and then running wide there again, but just the bump on the entry really throwing you offline. We have to absolutely nail this. He does hit the wall on the inside, I believe, so that will have cost him a bit of time, and this is absolutely crucial because into Forest's elbow, braking just a little bit too late, turning under braking just to try and get the car around, and we're just about going to be in the slipstream, not by much. In fact, we're barely just there. However, this is going to help us from the South African behind. As you can see there, the gap dropping ever so slightly, so it's about half a second now into the chase. So braking just after the 150 board in the slipstream, missing the apex though still. So again, it's really hard to judge when you're on old tyres. But here we're going to pull over to the left hand side to make our first pit stop. I must have braked a bit too late or something, because I go wide and then just smack into the wall, and I'm going to get reset. In fact, the South African behind makes the exact same mistake. So it's a bit funny there because he kind of followed me through, and then in fact he just rage quit, I believe. The player count dropping from 20 to 19. But now we've got to put a mega in-lap in because we've completely screwed over any chances of a top 3 here. So now we've got to get our head down and try and make something work. Pulling over to the left hand side, this time not completely messing up the pit entry, and we're actually going to change our tyres here. But we're going to go to the mediums, so instead of doing a 2-stop, I've converted to a 1-stop. So you've got to really think about your strategy on the fly on your race circumstances. So pulling out the pit lane here, and what we've got to bear in mind is that the Greek driver in front, I believe, has a 1-second penalty. So just looking behind there, and in fact there's no real competition from behind, so it's about 2.8 seconds to gap. But we're going to look for a move around the outside. Once again, it's not quite going to work, and with the rubble on the left hand side, it's not quite going to work as the Greek driver spins out. That's going to be absolutely crucial, and the Portuguese driver Pato picks up a 4-second penalty. Not sure really what happened there. However, I think the Greek driver must have been squeezed into the wall, and that's game over for him, I believe. But following Lenny Boy Smith through the mountain. It's a very tricky section, of course, especially on harder tyres. Obviously it's not the hard tyres that are so miserable and sluggish, but obviously it still doesn't really help the fact that you're not on the soft tyres. But into the Forest Elbow then, just trying to get a good enough slingshot to get past into the chase. So the Portuguese driver is just going to serve his penalty now, but we've got a very good run on the British driver, and we're just going to sail past. There's no real competition really, and the jet black Corvette moves up into 7th place. Obviously not the 4th place that we probably should have got in this race, however we've just got to accept that things don't always go your way. So then, we've got the Austrian in front in our sights for 6th place, and this is crucial. However, there's a yellow flag, and I believe there was a Portuguese driver that was stuck, and we move up into 6th place. So P. Steve, as it is, as some of you may know. However, we are not quite in the slipstream of the Austrian yet, but just remember this, that we are under threat still from the Brit behind. It's going to be very crucial. Bit of a late defensive manoeuvre there, not the greatest, but we just got to remember that there are not many laps left in this race, and we've actually managed to get in the slipstream of the Austrian driver, Section Chef. But as we climb up the mountain, the medium tyres actually feel pretty good. He gets a bit of a wobble on the exit, and through here very tricky, because in qualifying, if you're in the right car, you can take this section almost flat out if you get the lines dead right. But through here, really committing to the inside, we're going to gain a lot of time. The gap was about 8/10 before turn 2, and now it's just 2/10, I believe. So we've definitely gained a lot of time. Not the best run through the dipper, however, it is crucial that we get a good exit out of the Forest Elbow. So then, only 2 laps left in this race, and cut into the replay camera there briefly, and it's just so important that we get a decent run into the chase, and in fact we've already passed him. So powerful is the slipstream. However, now we've got to try and defend for 2 laps, because the medium tyres obviously are not the greatest in terms of grip. However, against the soft runners, you will be gaining a lot of time at the end. Anyway, into Murray's corner. Very tricky corner, especially with the little bump on the exit. So cutting forward to the final lap then, and there are a couple of people making pit stops actually, so we are going to move up to 4th, and crucially we jump the Spaniard behind, and now this is the phase where we've got to defend for our life, because they're on fresh tyres and we're on what, 4 lap old mediums. It's going to be very tricky to hold them off, especially with, you know, them having fresh tyres, but they get the apex completely wrong. They drift wide, and that is going to buy us a lot of time. So into the mounted section then, very smooth on the exit. I'm definitely getting used to this car now, but we just clatter against the wall. It's not going to help us at all. We can see there we've opened up the gap to the Spaniard to about 1.5 seconds, and he did gain back on us eventually, but the gap there just going to 3 seconds. I think he had a penalty of some sort, but it's going to be P4 in this race if we don't completely mess up, clipping the apex very well. And we had some solid race pace, set at 202.2 on the medium tyres. But if you did enjoy, just like and subscribe, turn on those post notifications so you get notified whenever I upload some more Gran Turismo or Assetto Corsa content. But remember, just keep it respectful in the comments, but take care everyone, and goodbye.